Hi again, everyone. It's 5 o'clock in New York. Grenade detonation this morning, New York City, as FBI agents raided the home and office of Rudy Giuliani, seizing his phone and electronic devices. Today's development signaling a major turning point in the investigation by the Southern District of New York, which is looking into Giuliani's dealings with Ukrainians. From the New York Times, which was the first to break this story, quote, the federal authorities have largely focused on whether Giuliani illegally lobbied the Trump administration in 2019 on behalf of Ukrainian officials and oligarchs, who at the time were helping Mr. Giuliani search for damaging information on Mr. Trump's political rivals, including Mr. Biden, who was then a leading contender for the Democratic presidential nomination. Former senior Justice Department official Victoria Tensing, who was close to Giuliani and also had dealings with several Ukrainians, had her home searched by federal authorities as well this morning. Attempts to obtain the search warrant for Giuliani's phones and devices have been underway for months, according to the New York Times, and they report that investigators had been met with pushback when trying to secure it previously. Quote, under Mr. Trump, senior political appointees in the Justice Department repeatedly sought to block such a warrant, New York Times reported, slowing the investigation as it was gaining momentum last year. After Merrick Garland was confirmed as President Biden's attorney general, the Justice Department lifted its objection to the search, raising all sorts of questions about former Attorney General Bill Barr's involvement, heavy-handed involvement, in the federal investigation of his boss's lawyer. We do know last year that Barr pressured Jeffrey Berman, who was Manhattan's top federal prosecutor at the time, to step down. Berman refused and then was fired by Donald Trump. We have more questions and answers at this hour, and that's where we begin with some of our favorite friends and reporters. Chuck Rosenberg, a former U.S. attorney who worked on the staffs of both Robert Mueller and James Comey at the FBI, is here. Also joining us, Frank Figliuzzi, former FBI Assistant Director for Counterintelligence, and Jason Johnson's here, a professor of journalism and politics at Morgan State University and a contributor for The Grio. Lucky for us, all three MSNBC contributors. Frank, I start with you today. Can you help me understand, and we should make perfectly clear that the Justice Department doesn't give a warrant. The Justice Department gives permission to investigators to go to a judge to seek a warrant. Is that right? Can you explain that process and what you need to convince a judge to say yes?
Yeah, I think the process is really important for your listeners to understand. Why? Because I'm sure that any minute now we're going to start hearing claims of witch hunt and deep state within the Justice Department. But people need to understand that a U.S. magistrate or federal judge had to sign off. And here's what the FBI and prosecutors had to convince that judge of. It's two parts. First, that there's a crime that's occurred, federal jurisdiction, federal crime. And secondly, and this is important, that the evidence of that crime is in this place we wish to search. And that has to be fresh information. That can't be something that's a year old or even usually 6 months old. It's got to be updated to say, you know, those devices, those records, the electronic stuff we're looking for, they're right here, and we know they're right here. And so here's, you led off correctly. There has been indication that for months, maybe as far back as December, the Southern District of New York was petitioning the DOJ in Washington to go ahead with the search of Giuliani. And for some reason, timing or whatever, miraculously, it took a new attorney general and deputy attorney general before there was sign off on that. And because it involves lawyers, it has to go to a special unit at DOJ that says, okay, what's the process here? And FBI agents who serve that search warrant can't have anything to do with the substantive investigation. Why? Because now they're going to start laying eyes on potentially attorney-client privileged information. So they serve as this filter team. There's lots of process, lots of steps here, and it all played out this morning.
What are they looking for, Frank?
They're looking for evidence of a crime. Now, piecing together what we know is going on, and now piecing together the fact that Victoria Tensing was searched and Rudy Giuliani's office and apartment were searched. Now we can look at what they are doing in concert with each other. What do we know that's public information? There's Ukraine in this mix. There's potential that foreign money was paid to them. We know foreign money was paid to them for what? Well, you mentioned it in your opener. Let's find some dirt on Joe Biden. So this is going to go beyond the mere kind of routine lobbying, foreign lobbying case, Foreign Agent Registration Act case. This isn't just a lobbyist who forgot to file some paperwork. This opens Pandora's box about the potential for foreign money coming into the 2016 campaign, foreign money funding an effort to dig up dirt on Joe Biden and potentially Hunter Biden. And let's not forget, who does Victoria Toensing represent? Among others, a guy by the name of Dmitry Firtash. Who is he? A Ukrainian oligarch closely tied to Putin and Russia. Don't be surprised if investigators want to find out if Russian money was getting into the campaign in 2016.
I desperately want to turn to Chuck and Bill Barr, but I need to, you opened this Russia question, and so Frank, is the only panelist with FBI experience in counterintelligence, I'm going to stay with you for one more here. Put the crimes and the criminal investigation aside for a moment. We now have a Justice Department who has lifted an objection from the previous management at DOJ to pursuing information that may have at its roots foreign money that may be coming from Vladimir Putin that was explicitly to smear Joe Biden at the very, very beginning of the presidential campaign. What are the national security implications of what this investigation unearths?
Yeah, the answers are going to start coming, hopefully now, answers that everybody's been looking for. It's going to be slow and methodical. It's complicated by the fact that these are lawyers and lawyers for the president. But look, I'm assured and encouraged today that the process is continuing, that someone's trying to get to the truth, and that, you know, the so-called no collusion theory that you'll keep hearing, that the Mueller report found no collusion, which, by the way, I disagree with. I believe the Mueller report speaks to collusion, but not criminal conspiracy. I think they're headed in that direction because if indeed foreign money is flowing through surrogates into the 2016 campaign, that's where this could be headed.
Now, Chuck Rosenberg, I feel like these comments may land like body blows about the department you revere and served in, but Bill Barr's public-facing behavior as someone who gave speeches where he called career prosecutors, he likened them to preschoolers or kindergartners, I can't remember, who meddled in the Stone and Flynn cases in a manner that so repelled career prosecutors that they quit the cases. I think one even quit the department. What if that was the public sort of bravado that was on display for all of us to see? What was he doing behind the scenes? What questions do you have based on today's report?
Yeah, one obvious question is whether prosecutors in the Southern District of New York, Nicole, were really being interfered with at a political level, in a political way, from the leadership of the Department of Justice, right? So you mentioned Flynn and Stone. And I think those are really important analogs because when Bill Barr interfered in those cases, we heard loud and clear from line prosecutors, from the men and women in the field, about what was happening and why it was unacceptable. We haven't quite heard that out of the Southern District of New York. We know there was some, hostility between the former U.S. Attorney, Jeffrey Berman, who has a very good reputation, and the political leadership of the department. But no resignations, no letters, no filings that indicated that the Southern District of New York prosecution team felt that its case was being mishandled or politically manipulated. So a really important question for me is, why the delay? Was it nefarious? Or was it non-nefarious? Did it have to do with accruing, aggregating probable cause, the legal threshold you need to go in on a search warrant that Frank so ably described? Or was it something else? I think that's a really important question. And sitting here right now, I don't know the answer to it.
Let me stay with you, though, on Bill Barr's intersection with Victoria Toensing and Rudy Giuliani. Donald Trump told President Zelensky of Ukraine to coordinate with Rudy Giuliani and Bill Barr, not just Rudy, Bill Barr also. And Bill Barr, this is from some Washington Post reporting in February 2020, Bill Barr acknowledges the Justice Department has created an intake process to vet Giuliani's information on Biden's. So, you know, the viewing public may have thought that Rudy was out of his mind, but Barr had a process set up for the United States Department of Justice to intake information that was coming through Rudy from Ukrainian oligarchs with ties to Putin. I mean, what is wrong with that? Start at the beginning, Chuck Rosenberg.
start at the beginning and go for the next several hours, Nicole. What's wrong with it is that Rudy Giuliani was probably the single most uninformed and unreliable source of information imaginable. And as we see this play out now, he was a conduit of information for Russian intelligence, which is absolutely astonishing. If you just stop there, Russian intelligence was influencing the information that Rudy Giuliani was feeding to the Justice Department to try to seek dirt on a political opponent of the President of the United States. So maybe Bill Barr, and I'm done with giving him the benefit of the doubt, was trying to move Giuliani out of the way and set up some separate channel for all the nonsense he was funneling to the Department of Justice. Or maybe they were taking this stuff seriously and thought that Giuliani needed a voice and had to have a means to relay Russian intelligence to prosecutors who, by the way, thank goodness, as far as we know, never acted on it. All of this is really muddled right now, right? It's a big black box. We only see little pieces of it. But again, to Frank's point, today was a big day. Today was an important day because whatever was holding up that investigation is gone. And prosecutors in the Southern District of New York, the career folks, the men and women in the field, were allowed to move forward with their FBI counterparts. And it will take a long time, and attorney searches are complicated, and the FBI and the prosecutors need a filter team or a clean team to review this stuff, but it's moving forward. And I think that's the single most important thing for your viewers from today. It's going forward.
Hey, thanks for watching our YouTube channel. You should know that you can follow today's top stories and breaking news and catch up on your favorite MSNBC shows all in one place. Download the NBC News app today.